Hercules, 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 Hercules. So this is the second Hercules movie of 2014, the other being The Legend of Hercules, which I did not see, which I heard was terrible. But this is Hercules starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, directed by Brett Ratner, based off the comic book Hercules: The Thracian Wars by the late Steve Moore. The plot here is that Hercules, son of Zeus, leads a group of mercenaries and is hired by the Thraki king, played by John Hurt, to help capture and stop an evil ruler. This is one of those movies where I saw the trailers and I thought, this looks completely awful. Like, nobody gave a shit. Like, it was bordering on Michael Bay cringeworthiness. And it also didn't help that I'm not a fan of Brett Ratner's movies. Didn't care for Rush Hour 3. I haven't seen the first two, admittedly. Tower Heist was stupid. And X-Men 3, that was an abomination. Thank you, Days of Future Past. So you can imagine that going into Hercules, my expectations were low. Any hope I had of this being a good movie was just dead on the ground. But I gotta admit, seeing this movie, I thought it was pretty good. I mean, it's not a masterpiece by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a fun, entertaining movie. Something in the vein of Arnold Schwarzenegger's Conan the Barbarian, or even 300, except a bloodless 300. And just like 300, the fact that this was based off a comic book helped me embrace the silliness. Whenever the movie just got silly, I was like, okay, that's a movie. It is what it is. The actors do a decent job. Dwayne Johnson, he commands the screen as Hercules, even though it's a little weird hearing everyone else have a British accent, and then he's basically Barack Obama on steroids. But he still commanded the screen as the title character, and Dwayne Johnson is always that guy that you put him in a really shitty movie, at least he's good, unless he's doing something like The Tooth Fairy. But yeah, he commands the screen. Everyone else does a good job, though a lot of his teammates don't get enough character development. They do, like, in little snippets, but ultimately they're defined by a special skill they can do. And there's this one girl who's basically like Hawkeye and Legolas, where she's a really masterful archer. Ian McShane plays this, I guess, a mentor kind of guy who's waiting for death. He's good in the movie. John Hurt really hams it up in this role. I guess because he knew what he was getting into. He was like, all right, I'm just going to ham it up. And he was enjoyable. The movie moves at a really fast pace, to the point where I was like, oh, wow, we're done already? Okay, that was fast. Because the movie's only 98 minutes long, which is a fair length for this movie. The action's fun. Some of it's inventive. And the 3D actually kind of worked, too. This is one of those movies where I saw it in 3D. And it wasn't spectacular, but I don't know if it was shot in 3D or converted in 3D. I'm assuming the latter, but it looked pretty good. But this movie is not all good. Like I said, some of the characters don't get enough development and are only defined by skill. Some characters are just pretty much useless until the very end of the movie, where they have their tiny moment to shine. The nephew of Hercules being one of them. And then the CG is awful. I mean, the movie itself has some great cinematography and production design, but every time there is a CG animal on screen, you're just like, oh shit, that is awful. It looks like the Twilight werewolves or wolves in Twilight. It's just that level bad. I mean, the lion is the worst, but luckily this movie doesn't depend on CG a lot, so you're spared from the awful CG. But again, when it comes up, you're just like, oh god, that looks horrible. Now, I mentioned before that this reminded me of a bloodless 300, which this is kind of an unfair criticism because it falls into the realm of this is what I would have done rather than what the movie did wrong. But I wish they took it to its full R-rated potential. I mean, there's a battle scene where people are getting sliced up, arrows are going through chests, heads, and Hercules is beating and smashing heads with his club, and there's just hardly any blood. So I just kind of wish that they took it to its full R-rated potential. That way, you kind of feel more invested in what's going on because it's more believable. So basically, if it had been more violent, it probably would have been a lot more enjoyable. Maybe not for some people, but if they wanted to really bring it to that Conan the Barbarian 300 feeling of entertainment, I think taking it to an R-rated level would have been good. So in the end, Hercules was just a big surprise for me. A movie that I didn't expect to be good at all. I walked in and I was like, wow, that was actually pretty good. And this, again, this is coming from someone who doesn't like Brett Ratner movies. But it's not a masterpiece by any stretch of the imagination. But it is helped by Dwayne Johnson's charisma, some action scenes, good cinematography, production design. But it's not really full on substance. It's a fun adventure movie. Good, but not great. If you know that this is based off a comic book, or you look at it thinking, oh, this reminds me of Conan and 300, which I like, then you might enjoy this movie. So I would say pass on the 3D, because while it looked good, it doesn't really do much. So yeah, it's good, but not great. And that's my review for Hercules. Leave a comment, tell me what you thought of the movie. Subscribe to my channel for more stuff in the future. You can check out my other channel, AlexG8462, for video vlogs. Find links to my Twitter, Facebook, Tumblr, and Instagram accounts on my YouTube page. Go check me out on Letterboxd.com under the name The Real Mr. Robinson. And go check out my written reviews on Geeked Out Nation. Share me with your friends and tell them about me. And remember to know it before you see it. This is The Real Mr. Robinson telling you there's only one. I'll see you guys later.